And welcome. Thank you for being with us. This is KGW News at 5 o'clock. In 2 days, more than 24 counties in Oregon will move out of the most severe pandemic restrictions.
Oregon Governor Kate Brown made that announcement late Tuesday. Pat Doris explains how it all happened and why business leaders are worried they still might not be out of the woods.
Just days before the traditionally busy Mother's Day weekend, restaurants in 15 counties learned they can reopen to some indoor dining in Oregon. Jason Brandt is president and CEO of the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association.
So having statewide indoor dining available again for Oregonians this Friday is a breath of fresh air.
It's a sudden change from just a week ago, but it's part of the rules the governor set up in early April. As Governor Brown grappled with how to keep businesses open even as COVID cases spiked in some counties, she set up new statewide metrics that had to be met for any county to qualify for extreme risk restrictions. They required at least 300 people statewide be hospitalized with COVID and that hospitalizations were going up at least 15% on a rolling 7-day count. Last week, the statewide metrics were hit, which sent 15 counties already above their local limits into the extreme risk category. It shut down indoor dining and severely limited other indoor businesses. But May 4th, there on the far right side of your screen, the number of hospitalized COVID patients fell to 345, just enough to bring the 7-day percent change there in the green to 14.9. Governor Brown announced late on that same day that the statewide metric was no longer met, and as of Friday, the counties would be released from the extreme category down to the high-risk category.
And for the counties that go from extreme to high, I think they can only still have like 25% capacity, right? Is that a big enough deal?
Yeah, 25%, depending on the restaurant, is either enough to justify opening up, especially over a busy weekend, or maybe not quite enough.
He said it depends on how big the restaurant is inside and how much outside seating it has as well. The extreme risk rules also had shut down many gyms. They can now reopen with up to 50 people. Dan Afrasiabi owns several Planet Fitness gyms.
Well, Pat, obviously we're happy to see that, but I think it's really important to remember there's still a tremendous amount of restrictions in place for fitness facilities and for other businesses.
He said some of the remaining limits are ridiculous.
There's a cap of 50 people on the number of people in the gym, no matter what size the gym is. If the gym is 50,000 square feet or 10,000 square feet, there's still a 50-person cap on restrictions in place. I don't know how that policy makes sense.
The governor's new rules will also allow the Portland Trail Blazers to play their final home games in front of a limited number of fans. About 1,900 tickets will be sold for the Moda Center. Team president and CEO Chris McGowan said he's thrilled to welcome the fans back.
The Blazers say they'll require fans to wear masks unless they're eating and to go through a health screening on their mobile app. But they are not going to require fans be vaccinated. In Northeast Portland, Pat Doris, KGW News.
Portland State will require proof of vaccination for faculty, staff, and students on campus next fall. PSU made the announcement today, joining a growing list of public colleges with a coronavirus vaccine requirement. Yesterday, we told you Oregon State University came out with a vaccine mandate. Before that, Washington State and the University of Washington announced vaccinations would be required there. A Portland State professor of public health thinks it's important because PSU's downtown location is a very busy area with a lot of people.
So it is imperative that we are good neighbors and our students, faculty, and staff are able to be vaccinated and return to the new level of normalcy.
The University of Oregon has not yet decided on a vaccine mandate, but the U of O said today it is carefully considering its options and expects to communicate something soon.
If you want a COVID vaccine, it's never been easier. This weekend, no appointments will be required for the drive-through vaccination site at the airport. Just show up, get a shot. Here's what you need to know about that. The PDX Red Economy lot will be open between 11 and 3 on Saturday, and then on Mother's Day, 8 to 3 on that Sunday. This is for first doses only. If you're looking for a second dose, you do need to make an appointment for that. The phone number is on your screen. Those appointments are not available online. If you already have an appointment this weekend, those will go on as planned.
Police are investigating 2 deadly shootings reported in the Portland area today. In North Portland, police responded to a report of shots fired near Cathedral Park this morning. Officers found someone dead there in an apartment. Police say the victim appears to have been shot. No one has been arrested and we have no suspect information. Homicide detectives are investigating. And Gresham police found a man dead in the street this afternoon after a report of a shooting. The victim was found near East Burnside and 172nd Avenue. Police shut down roads, as you can see, in that area while they investigate. Police have not released any other details.
Well, take a look at this. A driver plowed through an outdoor seating area outside of Selwood Brewery overnight. It happened around 2 a.m. at Portland U Brew and Unicorn Brewing. According to the owner, the driver told police she was looking at her phone.
This is a 20-mile-an-hour zone. You can watch cars right now and all day long come by at 35, 40 miles an hour, looking down at their phones while they're driving. There's pedestrians, there's a school 3 blocks down there. Slow down, keep your eyes on the road.
Yes, important advice. The driver does have minor injuries. The owner says police told him they were surprised it wasn't worse. Thank goodness it wasn't. The owner tells us the crash caused about $2,000 to $3,000 in damage.
There's not a day that's gone by, though, that we haven't been working on it, you know?
Remember the big food cart pod at 10th and Alder downtown? Back in 2019, the carts got booted to make way for a Ritz-Carlton hotel. Finally, 2 years later, they're set to open in a new home a few blocks away from their original spot. Morgan Romero has the update.
We can all agree downtown Portland needs life pumped back into it. This, Ankeny West, could be one way to resuscitate it.
What's the best way to rebuild that restaurant scene? Food carts.
A new food cart pod at the south end of the city's North Park blocks.
The carts have been waiting for a long time for this to happen.
Reviving this rundown park and getting people back to work.
It's just a wonderful place, and I'm sure it's going to benefit the city.
It can fit 22 carts to start, with room to expand.
Our dream is to have a famous food cart in Oregon. Making money is one thing, but I just love it. I enjoy it, and I'm very excited.
Number One Bento is one of dozens of immigrant and BIPOC-run food carts once down the street on Alder. In 2019, they got the boot to make way for the new Ritz-Carlton.
And I'm right now operating in 6th and Columbia, but I'm not making nearly what I was making at the 10th and Alder, but I'm trying to hang in there so I could pay my worker.
Nonprofit Friends of Green Loop Executive Director Keith Jones helped find the pod a new home and money. Before moving, permits had to be filed and power put in.
We're going to put the food carts in the right-of-way in the street, which is PBOT. Originally, a lot of the issues were around getting that electrical infrastructure in place.
They were so close when the pandemic paused plans.
Funding that we had fell through when COVID hit.
Fast forward to this week, when Mayor Wheeler said he set aside funds for the pod in his proposed budget. If passed, Jones says they could see the money by July 1st.
Can we get contractors started early?
Without their main customers, tourists and office workers, the carts could get off to a rough start in the new spot.
The idea here is let's get this up by the 4th of July, and then it's ready.
Jones wants to stay cautiously optimistic.
Until there's carts actually on that location and we're in business, I'm not going to feel comfortable.
While Kim feels reinvigorated.
We're going to do whatever we can to make a wonderful place for food cart.
Morgan Romero.
Portland could be proud of our food cart.
KGW News.
The food cart pod has a permit to use the park for 3 years. Jones says it's essentially a pilot program. If it works out, the city could do the same thing in other parts of town.